This is the East Baton Rouge Council on Aging Board of Directors meeting, Thursday, June 29, 2023, 2:30 p.m. at the Lotus Headquarters, 965 North 18th Street, Baton Rouge, Louisiana, 70802. First, we'll have an invocation. Ask that Reverend Hunter lead us in our invocation.
Ready?
Yep.
Let us pray. Oh, gracious and eternal God, we come now to say thank you for another day's journey. And Lord, we thank you for your grace and your mercy. We pray now that you would bless our coming today on behalf of this organization that's charged with the responsibility of seeing out the elderly, even ourselves. And we pray that everything would be done in order and be decent. I ask that you would grant us now this opportunity to be in your presence. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. Okay, next on the agenda is the pledge. I ask Mary Washington, will you lead us in the pledge? Yes. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Next, we'll have a roll call.
Chief Cole Dunn.
Absent.
Ms. Connie Curry.
Here.
Jared Cole. Ms. Payne.
Present.
Representative C.D. Martell.
Present.
Mary Washington.
Present.
Steve Schilling. Pamela Mitchell.
Here.
Carolyn Coleman.
En route.
Reverend Dr. Mary Moss.
En route.
Reverend Donald Hunter. Reverend Dr. Hunter. Donald Hunter.
I'm present.
I got you there. Jacqueline Nash Grant. Attorney Jacqueline Nash Grant.
Absent.
Ms. Jerry Key.
Absent.
Ms. Jerry Booker.
Here.
Attorney Jennifer Munson.
Present. Okay. Thank you. At this time, we're going to take a break for lunch. Okay, we are back on the record. At this time, item 4 is the adoption of the agenda. Can I get a motion for the adoption of the agenda? Okay, it's been moved by Reverend Hunter and seconded by Mary Washington. Any objections? Anybody opposed? Okay, motion carries. Next item on the agenda is public comments. Do we have any public comments? Any public comments? Seeing none, our next item is our action item, number 6, certification of the Board of Directors meeting minutes. Mr. Cole. You gotta ask for a motion. Okay, can I get a motion for certification of the May 16th annual meeting minutes?
I'll make a motion.
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion by Ingrid Payne, second by Pastor Hunter. Any opposed? Motion carries. Okay, can I get a motion for the certification of the board of meeting for May 16, 2023.
Make a motion.
She makes a motion. That's number 2 under A.
Oh, she made the motion, pass on a
Okay,
second.
so the motion by Ingrid Payne, second by Reverend Hunter. Anyone opposed? Okay, motion carries. Okay. Next item action is the Finance Committee report. Ms. Pratt, Ms. Webb.
Ms. Pratt, you making it?
Okay.
Okay.
On June 15th, Finance Committee met, and we discussed, actually, we approved, the Finance Committee approved the budgets for the City of Baton Rouge and for the Governor's Office on Elder Affairs. The budget for the City of Baton Rouge does not require approval or resolution. We normally just send that in. But since we were having the Finance Committee meeting so close, I wanted to have on the record that we did approve that budget for next fiscal year 2024 for the city. They don't require a resolution or anything, but the Governor's Office on Elderly Affairs does require a resolution, with their saying that the board didn't meet and all that. So what we discussed in that meeting, we'll talk about the meeting. Okay. What we discussed in that meeting were both budgets, that of the city and of the Governor's Office on Elderly Affairs. And it was approved by the Finance Committee, waiting on full ratification from this board today. I will, if you take your financial packet out of your board packet, it should say Finance Committee report. Finance report. First is the City of Baton Rouge. This is what we usually do is a combined budget, which includes the city budget and the governor's office. When I say the city, that's all general funds, and also the governor's office on elderly affairs. For the fiscal year 2024 and for the calendar year 2024, our fiscal year for 2024, governor's office starts July 1 of this year and ends June of next year. The City of Baton Rouge runs from January through December. So this is a combination of what we have in the budget for today. Our estimated money that we're going to get from the city next year, if you take first page after the cover, is $10,927,660, and the money from the governor's office at this point, $2,707,436. And the reason I say at this point, because throughout the year the governor's office may get additional funding, and that could change. Okay. And then we have 2 state grants that we're still working on from the Louisiana Department of Health. One is a COVID-19 informational grant and vaccine grant. And for fiscal year 2024, calendar year 2020, we have $100,000 on that grant. We also have another grant from LDH on Medicare Unwind. And if you all have been listening to the news and stuff, you know that what Medicare is doing after several years, last time I think they did it was prior to COVID, I don't know how many years ago, but they're reassessing all of their Medicaid patients to see if they still deserve to be on Medicare, whatever they do, but they're reassessing them all over the state. So the Louisiana Department of Health needed help in doing that because of seniors. A lot of Medicaid clients are seniors, and they wanted our agency to assist them in doing these assessments. And all we had to do for this particular grant is just, if a senior called in, help them. They mailed out a form for everybody, and they had to assist them with completing that form and getting it back to Medicaid, because if they didn't turn it in by a certain date, then they were going to just automatically cut them off. And we didn't want that to happen to our seniors. So that grant, we started last year, last fiscal year, this year actually, but we have $83,000 left on that grant for calendar year, fiscal year 2024.
Can I ask you a question?
Yes, ma'am.
So on the Medicaid Unwind grant, we've already started to give the information to the seniors.
Oh, yeah.
It was more of informational.
It was more to help them to complete that form.
As I understand it, in appropriation, they're making everybody reapply because the federal government, I think that's the issue. The federal government had put in so much money during COVID, and some of those people were going to get cut off.
Okay.
And so that's why they wanted them to be reassessed or at least reapply. And so are we assisting them with reapplying?
It's basically reassessment. They fill the form.
That's what I mean. So they have to turn them in.
They have to complete that form.
What percentage of our seniors have done that?
Don't know. We got the grant. When did the grant start, Trudy? She's not. Medicaid Unwind. Was it in April?
It started in April.
Okay, in April. So we just had it because it was April 1st that they started the grant. So we got it then. We started, but I don't know if we got a whole lot of clients.
Right.
But we have done some work on it. We had a training meeting the other day for the grant, and I sat in on it, and they realized, and they're slow with everybody around the state. But
Right.
they did tell us that if you had started reassessing any clients, that they would reimburse us for it. And if it was, prior, after the date of the contract.
Yeah,
And we
I'll-
had started them.
Right, yeah, I wasn't so much concerned with the reimbursement, I know y'all don't get the money, but I was just trying to be
Now, the
concerned
numbers-
about the elders
Yeah.
that are actually doing what they need to do, because I don't want to see any of them cut off.
Right.
That's my concern.
Right, we did. We did a lot of telephone into our clients, because, we contact them every month. We get in touch with them every month.
Ms. Pratt,
Yeah,
we've done,
with everybody.
we've done some in person. We've been filling them out with the
Yeah.
tablets in person for them.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right, okay, thanks.
All right, no problem. So anyway, LGH grants for this time period is $183,333. So we're projecting our total revenue for fiscal year '24, calendar year '24, to be $13,818,429. And on the next page is just a breakdown of that money in our budget form. You see it's year 5, but 24 is year 5 of our 10-year tax, and that's the money and expenses associated with it. And our year FY '24 GOA, that's the total revenue for them, is going to be $2 million, counting the state. There's $2,707,436, and then the 183 from the state. We're looking at $2,089,769. So combined revenue at this point, $13,818,429. I'd also like to say that of this figure, only when some people think because we're a service organization that our overhead is really high. But as a general service organizations, the overhead or labor costs, is what I'm trying to say, is pretty high because we're a service organization. That's what we do. We're people helping people. So it's not that we don't make products or anything like that. So right now, our healthcare services, our percentage is about salary ratio to other expenses is running between 40 and 45%, and that's normal for healthcare service organizations to be that high. Of that percentage now, only 18% of that is administrative cost. Okay.
So you said of the total budget, the percentage actually going to personnel is what?
The percentage that's going to personnel is about between 40 and 45%. I'm projecting this about 45%. But of that 45%, 18 of it is administrative costs. So the rest of it is direct services to clients, program services.
Okay, of the 13 million, 818 is 40%.
It's actually 43% of,
43%.
including labor and
Of the total
fringe.
amount of 13 million.
Labor and fringe. And that's about 5.9 million that's going for labor and fringe. Okay. Travel, we have $15,000, and I was just going to highlight the areas that that we made big changes on. Of course, this year's special events, it was not going to be nearly what it was last year, because last year we were celebrating our 50th anniversary and we had set money aside for that. So this year we reduced special events for the seniors. We still will have the major events. We're still planning to have like Senior Skip Day, and we're still having Thanksgiving. Those are the two main ones where all the seniors are involved. And then, of course, at each senior center, they still have their activities that they do, and it's on a monthly basis. I think they do activities. All right. So anyway, our expenses for the year, because we're a nonprofit, is $13,818,429. Oh, one other thing, debt service. We're paying now for the mortgage on this building, and our debt service on that one for next year is going to be about $1.1 million on our mortgage, because we're paying that mortgage off in unheard of amount of time, like 4 years. By the time the millage in 5 years. And for a mortgage that big and to pay it off that quick, that's a lot of money. But that's what we said we're going to do. When the first year millage was up, we were going to own this building. So that's what we're doing. So that's why the mortgage notes is so high. All right. ARP funding, all of you probably know that a lot of the COVID funding of our ARP money has been pulled back. There's no more. So we did have a grant for like $351,000 on that, and we were serving an additional about 300 and some clients that we picked up during COVID. that we didn't have before. Of those clients, 249 of them were congregate clients that came to the centers, and they're still there. And we picked up about 70 additional homebound clients. But we were just informed today that we have over 500 new homebound clients that we are servicing right now, which is good, but expensive. Good, but good. You know, it's still increasing, and our homebound numbers are really growing. So that's that. Any questions so far about anything in the budget?
So, will you continue to provide those services to the population that you received the increase on during the vote?
Yeah, we're not gonna turn anybody away, not congregate meals now. As of right now, we can still manage it, so we've decided that we're gonna, those 300 and, I think there's about 340 clients that we picked up total during COVID. We're not gonna knock them off the list, no, we're gonna continue to pick them up.
Congregate is the houses at the
Yeah.
senior centers. What is costly is the 500 additional homebound clients at, in total, in addition to our normal budget, that's about $1.7 million in addition to what we already spent. And so what we're trying to do is find some stopgap measures, some other funding. We completed 3 grants this week for some different funds. And so we're trying to figure out a way to keep them on the program. One thing that they suggest nationally to all councils is that we go back out and reassess everybody and see really if they really need it, or if they're on it because, you know, they're stocking up if there's another pandemic coming, another disaster, another storm. They're already on the program. And so we're going to begin to do that sometimes maybe next month, and just to go see if the seniors that are on the program, the 500 that we just acquired, if they actually on the program out of necessity or out of some fear or something like that. So the care managers, social workers will go back out and reassess it. That's the electrician.
What would be your most costly expenditure in this budget? Is it
Food.
senior citizens?
It's
food?
It's food. It's food, and it's food, and it's the Meals on Wheels program, because it's expensive to make the meals, because you have to cook it, plate it, freeze it, box it, seal it, wrap it. You know, it all has to meet health code. And then there's certain other things that have to go with it. Bread, a certain amount of fruit for the week, a certain amount of everything for the week. So it's the food, the Meals on Wheels program is very expensive.
And then deliver it.
And then deliver it.
Okay.
Right.
And your homebound?
That's it.
Far more expensive though.
No, the homebound and Meals on Wheels is the same thing.
It's the same.
Same program. Yeah, they're very expensive. Okay.
Okay, and included in your packet is an attachment of the budget that I submitted to the city on the 16th, because it was due by the 16th. We got it on the 2nd of June, and they had to have it by the 16th. So anyway, it was submitted to them, and it's the same budget that we're talking about today. In addition, that day, the Finance Committee approved the Governor's Office on Elder Affairs budget, because it's a combination budget that we approved that day. So the 3 sheets that I handed you today is just a breakdown. The budget amount didn't change. It's still the same amount, but it's a breakdown of how I have to submit it to the Governor's Office. That first sheet you see on the front is actually the cover page for my budget packet, and it looks like this. That's the one that has to be signed by the board chair. On that cover sheet, it just gives you the term of the contract period. It also tells you on each grant that we get from the Governor's Office, what our cost, the cost of each program by budget. And these programs listed here is a AAA program, which is the administrative portion that we get to administer all of these grants that we get from the Governor's Office. That grant total is $114,759. Supportive services, that's mostly your INA people, care managers in that particular grant. Then you have your congregate meals and your home delivered meals. And you can see that the cost, the budget for home delivered meals is higher than that for congregate meals. And if anybody want to ask you how much does it cost to feed seniors for a year in East Baton Rouge Parish, it's over $3 million. That's to feed homebound seniors. Then our senior centers, you know, we engage our members, clients that come to the centers, we keep them engaged, you know, for all reasons. That costs us a lot to keep them in, you know, activities that we do with them, to keep them socially, to help them to stay mobile, exercises and all that we do for them. That has a price tag as well. Now, on that particular grant, senior centers, most of that money does come from the state. That's the one that is not supplemented by the federal government, but the state does do that. And then, of course, I have the STPH, that's one of our vaccine grants that we're doing. It's informational, actually, on COVID, because even though the pandemic is over, people are still getting COVID. And we have to, you know, let them know that and to tell them that they still have to be, you know, protect themselves because people are still getting it. Right. And that being seniors with a lot of problems, issues, health issues, we are more prone to catch it. Right. You know, so we have to keep them and make sure that they're vaccinated if they aren't. Right. So we'll be having more vaccination clinics that we've done in the past for those who did not, or when the booster come out in the fall, we'll have a clinic at that time. And Chief will sign this as a board chair, the cover page. The other two pages at the back is just a breakdown of the same information. I'm not going to go over them, hurry up. The first one is the pooling of resources pages, and that just gives you a breakdown on where our money comes from, which is the same thing I discussed on the first page, the pooling of resources, yeah. And it tells you how you're distributing those funds by grant. It's a resource page. And then, of course, the last one tells you how you would do the program budget category summary. That tells you what expenses are going to be spent on which grant. So I will be submitting that after the board meeting today. The resolution is due July 1st. But since that's a Saturday and the governor gave us off Monday and Tuesday, I'll be submitting it on Wednesday. Yeah, he did Monday too. He sure did.
Don't tell my staff.
Okay. So that's basically what we have. So what we need now is chairperson. What we need now is resolution for the GOEA grant. And then, another thing we discussed, we discussed the ratification of that one signature thing, or whatever we had going on. Well, we are going back, we're going to revert to the policy that we had in place, which required 2 signatures on all checks. Okay, we're reverting to that policy. We discussed it in that meeting, so now all checks will require 2 signatures, okay? And so Sasha can't sign twice, so it'll be 2
I didn't
signatures.
sign at all.
So that's the other thing we discussed in that meeting, so I'm gonna need a resolution for that as well. And our check signers, everybody signed the forms at the bank, but we'll do a resolution for our records, you know, for our minutes, that these persons have been authorized to sign for the agency. I think $2 included, huh?
Yes,
Okay.
ma'am.
So I have one more question.
Uh-huh.
The register, is it still going to be sent out?
No.
Board resolution to adopt the instrument fiscal year 2024 GOEA budget on the 29th day of June 2023 at a meeting of the Board of Directors of the East Baton Rouge Parish Council on Aging Incorporated, a corporation held in the city of Baton Rouge, state of Louisiana, with former directors present. The following business was conducted. It was duly moved and seconded that the following resolution be adopted. Be it resolved that the Board of Directors of the above-named corporation does hereby accept the fiscal year 2024 GOEA budget. The above resolution was passed by a majority of those present and voting in accordance with the bylaws and the articles of incorporation. I certify that the above and foregoing constitutes a true and correct copy of the part of the minutes of a meeting of the Board of Directors held on the 29th day of June 2023.
I get a motion to accept this. It's been moved by Councilwoman Denise Marcel's second. I'm sorry, State Rep. And seconded by Ms. Mary Washington. Any objections to the motion? Okay, motion carries.
Board resolution to adopt this instrument, ratification of signing policy and procedure. On the 29th day of June 2023, at a meeting of the Board of Directors of the East Baton Rouge Parish Council on Aging Incorporated, a corporation held in the city of Baton Rouge, state of Louisiana, with a quorum of the directors present, the following business was conducted. It was duly moved and seconded that the following resolution be adopted. Be it resolved that the Board of Directors of the above-named corporation does hereby accept the ratification of check signing policy and procedure according to the East Baton Rouge Council on Aging Accounting Policies and Procedures Manual. Checks are submitted to the authorized signers for signature. Each check must be attached to an approved invoice or payment containing the details of each transaction. 2 signatures are required. There's a typo on there. 2 signatures are required on all checks. The above resolution was passed by a majority of those present and voted in accordance with the bylaws and articles of the incorporation. I certify that the above and foregoing constitutes a true and correct copy of a part of the minutes of a meeting of the Board of Directors held on the 29th day of June 2023.
Can I get a motion for this? Okay, it's been moved by Councilwoman Coleman and seconded by Attorney Mozart. Have any objections? Motion carries.
Madam Chair, I have a question before we get too far beyond the budget. I'm looking at your personnel at 488,158. And earlier I asked what portion of the personnel budget was of the total budget. You said 40%, is that right?
I said between 40 and 45, but it's actually 43%. That's labor
But-
and fringe.
Okay, but that 4 million, 88, is that 40% of 13,616? So what are we looking? I see the total budget of 13 million plus. So when we say that the personnel budget is 488,000, so what would that percentage be? It's not 40 though.
It's 4,881,580. Yeah.
Excuse me?
That's 4,881,580.
Okay.
Yeah. And so our
And even if it's 4 million, that's even,
let me
stand out a little bit more.
let me
but-
explain it
Okay.
to you. So our budget is divided differently than regular folks' budget. So we have an administrative budget, we have a programmatic budget. Most of the personnel are in the programmatic budget. And so what that means is, we are a service delivery, hands-on service. So in order for you to get this meal that the kitchen has prepared and cooked, a driver has to deliver it, sign that you got it. In order for you to get on the service, a care manager has to go into your house. So there are 6 people in administration, and then everybody else is in some program budget. So most of our budgets are broken down by program.
Okay, so that would probably fall on the operational services on here?
Yes.
All right. And, yes, now,
It makes sense?
yeah, that makes sense.
It does.
That's
It's hard to
40%.
look, right.
But it's not in the
It's
item
not
of
in-
personnel.
Right, so we're not top heavy, we actually bottom heavy because we have so many people that hands-on touch the seniors.
Yeah, but actually, my questions in this way had to do with the amount that we spend on personnel, which I was looking at 4,881. That was about 6.7% of the 13 million. And in that, if you were only going with the $4,881,000. So the question that I was really looking at in my mind is staffing and how well are they being compensated for their responsibility. And I think you told me in our last meeting that that their jobs are tied into the city.
No.
Is that correct?
No, sir.
So you're a separate entity?
We're a separate entity, and our jobs are actually tied more into the state and the feds than the city. But they are, I can say we have gotten to a place where we're better compensated. Initially, when I got here, everybody was making $7.25 minimum wage. Now, at our lowest level, everybody makes $15 an hour. And we did that pre-pandemic, particularly during the time when Amazon came into our area, and they started offering $15 an hour, we started losing our drivers, our bus drivers, our service workers. And so they, at least, and that was a couple of years ago. So every year you can get a 4% increase, right? We do the step just like the state, it's up to 4%, unless you are moved into another position, or we combine some positions and you pick up on some extra duties.
Yes, and it makes a lot more sense now when I see this staffing
Okay.
in the operational budget.
Yeah, it's in the operational budget, but Ms. Pratt, she lumps everything in, that's how you see in one number, but yeah. Yes, sir.
Just a general question, so it's on the record. I always get so much attention about council on aging. Do we get any philanthropic money from anybody?
You mean like donations?
Donations from all the
We
people
do,
that have, all these companies that we have? Do we get any
Yep.
money from them?
Last year, fiscal year, we got $50,000 from Care South for some of our functions. We got $50,000 from merchants. We get some money from Walmart, but part of the problem is that we run into now is because we have a millage and people are paying this tax, the one thing we kind of committed to them, if you don't fight against the tax and you pay your portion of the tax, we're not going to ask you all the time for funds. But we do get some philanthropic funds, but it's not as much as we would like, of course. But we get some. Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay.
We'll be back to the resolution.
Yeah. Any more questions? You clear?
Good.
Okay. Okay.
Make sure I'm on the right one. Board resolution to adopt this instrument, ratification of the board signing authority change.
Yes. That's check signing.
Check sign.
You still on there, but the new members are on, the old members are off. That's what that is. Okay.
Are we ready? Okay. On the 29th day of June 2023, at a meeting of the Board of Directors of the East Baton Rouge Parish Council on Aging Incorporated, a corporation held in the city of Baton Rouge, state of Louisiana, with a quorum of the directors present, the following business was conducted. It was duly moved and seconded that the following resolution be adopted. Be it resolved that the Board of Directors of the above-named corporation does hereby ratify the removal of C. Denise Marcel and Jamie Robinson as authorized signatures and adds Carl Dunn, Condo Kirsch, and Nicole Payne. I'm sorry. And Derek Cole. The above resolution was passed by a majority of those present and voted in accordance with the bylaws and articles of incorporation. I certify that the above and foregoing constitutes a true and correct copy of a part of the minutes of a meeting of the Board of Directors held on the 29th day of June 2023. Sorry.
Can I get a second?
Bless you, I say.
Okay. It's been moved by Representative Marcel, seconded by Reverend Hunter. Any objections? Motion carries. The next item on the agenda is the Board Chairman Report, which is the process for Board of Directors open seats. This was submitted by the chairman. It says new board members will be selected or elected by members at the annual meeting, May 16, 2024. An announcement for open positions requesting letters and resumes will be made late March, early April for the open seats. And it's his understanding that we'll have approximately 4 or 5 open seats. Please remember, none of this can be done until we receive the approved board roster and a letter to move forward with the elections from the Governor's Office of Elderly Affairs. The Board Development Committee Chair, Chairman of the Board, and the East Baton Rouge Council on Aging info email will receive the letters and resumes. All letters and resumes of interest collected are forwarded to the Board Chairman and the Development Committee Chair. A Board Development Committee meeting will be held on April 18, 2024 to select potential members according to the open position criteria according to the bylaws. For example, representative for the City of Central, representative for institution on public education, etc. These meetings would be brought for These members would be brought for consideration and election via sealed ballot to the membership. There is no full board meeting before the annual meeting, so the full board will vote along with membership at the annual meeting. Please remember that board members are actual members and can vote for themselves and have to be voted on and affirmed by the membership, which is the seniors. Any questions? Okay. The next item on the agenda is the CEO report. All right.
I thank you all for getting here at our new time. I want to thank Ms. Kirsch for filling in for Chief Dunn. I ask that we keep him in our prayers. He is not feeling well. He hurt himself. He injured his back, and his last words to me was he could not move. And so he's gone. He fell off the boat. He fell off the boat again. Yeah. He fell off the boat. All right, so I don't have much. The first thing I want to talk about is the Lotus truck dock here is finally complete. The construction is finally done. We're waiting on the architect to come out and give us a letter of substantial completion. We'll render final payment to the contractor, and it'll be done. So that's been a long process we've been waiting on. The second item I have is Lotus Village. I got Ms. Janice is gonna come up and give us a brief update on where we are with Lotus Village. She's looking at me like I printed it for you, but nobody says it better than her, so.
Good afternoon, everybody. I have very little to say about Lotus Village today because we have gone through so much, but we've made it. So we're finalizing only one thing, and that's a planning matter. And believe it or not, we've been spending a lot of time over what? A dumpster pad.
Trash can.
And of course, we had the planning commission we had to go before the planning commission so they could approve the location where we're going to put the dumpster pad. And the bigger issue was the truck. The truck, to make sure that the truck could actually move back, because it was not designed to go around the property. So with all that said, yes, we got approval for Lotus Village 3, and we will be going back July 17th before the Planning Commission so that we can have another discussion on the dumpster pad to get approval for the location of Lotus Village 1. So that concludes everything. We're doing great. We're constantly putting people in Lotus Village. We are at about 46% occupancy, so things are increasing. We have more interest, and you all know that it takes a while for people to get used to a new place, but those persons who have moved in are actually enjoying themselves. They're loving it, they're loving the community, and we thank each of you for your support for Lotus Village, because it is the place to be.
Yeah, it is the place to be. The seniors, they're having a good time. They're decorating their little patios, they're putting chairs out, welcome signs, and yes, sir.
I'm just asking, is it 500 or 500,000?
It's 500,000. I just saw it. I'm about to address that next. Lotus Village. So, in addition, for Lotus Village, we did get funding for, well, I think we're supposed to wait till 4:30 before we say, but we got proposed funding for Lotus Village 2, $1 million in priority 5, $500,000 in the general fund from State Rep Marcel, I believe, from State Rep Marcel. It doesn't say the name on here yet, but in HB2 from State Rep Marcel to go and do some acquisitions of some additional property in the back, and to also fix up some properties that we have been acquiring. And we'll know 100% for sure, I think at 4:30, finish signing and vetoing. What they called me and told me right before we came to meeting, but I believe we're done with that, and so, yeah.
So the way the money is structured, we made sure that there was 500,000 that they immediately wanted to sign. And the 1 million in priority 5 is because it's new construction, so they can go ahead and use. Typically, if you see something in priority 5, you think you're not going to get it, but when it's new construction, you will get it. So it's 1.5 million on that. It was kind of tricky because they kept thinking that the Lotus Village over here was completed, and they kept crossing up the money that I was requesting with the money that Senator Barrow was requesting for Lotus Village at the lakes, because all of it says East Baton Rouge Parish, and so that I fought until the last day, to make sure that we had the 1.5 million for this project to finish that. So
We most
will-
definitely,
we will
thank
do
you,
that.
and we appreciate it.
And I did touch Senator Barrow's money, because she called me in and said that they're gonna take initially they were gonna take the 1.5 out of her money. And I told them they had to find it somewhere else.
And moving on, the next thing is Senator Barrow's money, Lotus Village at the Lakes. We already had $1 million in the general fund from last fiscal year to start with our cleaning of the property and doing our due diligence piece. And we finally got the contract signed with Coleman Partners. They're gonna take the lead on it. They're in the midst of design now, and we're gonna start doing some demo work out in that area for the $1 million. Also, she had for us 7.184 million in priority 5 last session. This session, they just moved this 7.184 to priority 1, and they said we can go ahead and start building our senior center, and we can start building or getting our plans ready to build a housing piece. So we're gonna do the senior center first, just like the one on Main Street, and then we'll start with the housing. And so we got that today as well. And Senator Barrow.
So, the people that we put in or help to get, is the rent that they pay, is that enough to sustain the village? Or is it always it's gonna be incumbent on us to be able to add additional support as far as the council?
So part of what we do for any housing project, even like Dumas House, we prop up the projects with services. So for instance, 3 or 4 times a year, we assist them with getting their light bill paid. So we can relieve some of the funds that they would use for rent. We do that through the Energy Power to Care program. We assist with the meal. We assist with supplies that they need monthly, incontinence supplies. We assist with food from the food pantry. There's less groceries that you have to shop. We assist with Cox Cable, 30% reduction on their cable bill. So all in all, our method is to drive down the cost of their monthly bills so that they can focus on their rent. But all of the rent is income derived anyway. So for instance, at Dumas House, they pay anywhere from $150 a month to $350 because they got a certain income threshold. Back here, it can go from, I want to say, and Ms. Janice tells me don't get that wrong, but anywhere from $500 or $600. I think we got a couple of them that pay $240 that have the Medicaid waiver voucher. $500 or $600 on up to fair market rent value, because this is a mixed-use development. So we're gonna have some low income, some very low income, some with medical issues, and then we'll have some that may be a retiree from school system Exxon and can pay $900 a month. So it's a mixed development. I think
You know, 'cause my concern is always about, we're at the 5, or getting ready to be at the 5-year, and that sounds like a long time, but it's not.
It's not.
And so you have to plan for that 5th year, and
Right.
the confusion that we have downtown of whether or not we're gonna get funded, the
Right.
$10 million funded. So we have to
Right.
have a plan,
Right,
just in case we get less or
Right.
don't get anything.
right, right.
And so that's
We're working on the plan.
Yes, ma'am.
We're working on the plan.
We don't subsidize that.
But we don't subsidize their rent at all.
okay, good.
And that's what I was gonna add.
Yeah, it's low income tax credits.
Right, so it's tax credits and it's different people that come in and pay. You can have a voucher from housing, or you
Yeah.
can have one from veterans, or you can have one from, so it's different vouchers that they can utilize.
Yeah.
In order to subsidize their rent. So it depends on the individual and their
Each
income and where they're getting the assistance from. But it's never us. It's
Right.
never the
No.
council on aging that's paying that other portion.
No.
We just set the project up, and then from there, we can.
So my next thing would be that we need to market a little bit to bring in more of a diverse population, who might have a little more resources, but want to be a part of the community.
What do you mean?
Because we have a new community
You mean back here?
Everywhere that we're doing 1, 2, if there are people who have resources,
Sure.
then we need to bring them in and market to them to come into this community.
And we,
Again,
and we have been, and so, just so that we're clear, for the first 5 years of this project, 3.5, 4 years, Gulf Coast Housing, our development partner, they are doing the marketing, the rent up, and they are doing the management. It doesn't convert to us until year 5. And so what we are, because we weren't a developer initially, we had to be under somebody's tutelage that has a long-standing history of developing projects. And so for a 3-year period, we have to be trained on the best way. So they do all that. And I can tell you, we do have some diversity back here in Lotus Village. And they have joined the senior center. And so they've been going and eating their lunch. And so it's not 50-50, but we're getting there. All right.
I have this question, Madam Chair. So the income from all of your rental properties,
None of it comes to me.
none of it comes to
Not
you.
one dime.
Where does it go?
It goes back into the project. You know, there is a mortgage on this property. It goes toward the mortgage, and then it goes for leasing. It goes for maintenance. They have certain thresholds you have to keep for each category, and it's a tax credit project. So for Lotus Village, as we meet certain thresholds and benchmarks, then we'll start getting our developer fees.
Okay.
I want to say we get our first pool pot of money for making the development next month. Am I correct? July? July. And if we get 100% financing and everything is how it was planned, the Council on Aging will make $1.4 million at the end of some time period, right? You get something this month, something in 3 months from then, something 3 months from that, because it's all contingent upon lease up, right? And so they don't want you to say, okay, we open, everybody come lease 1 year. So we have to do something like 15 to 18 a month.
That's the goal.
That's 16 a month. We get leased in, and it's our goal to be leased up fully by October.
Okay.
Okay.
And ballpark figure, what is the overall income from renters or occupancy of the units?
Do you know?
Well, because with that 43% right now, it's hard to give you a number now. I could just calculate the 43 because I can do that for you.
Okay.
But one of the things we did, I mentioned, there is a small income coming out would be a management fee that would go to Gulf Coast.
Right.
That's the same as Junior's House, a small management fee. So that's what's paid out directly to the managing company. The other fees, as Ms. Zamar mentioned, goes directly for the cost of operating that property.
So it's not like a regular apartment complex you go build and then you can say, or this is my rental house and I'm getting $800 a month. It doesn't kind of work like that because it's tax credits and there's certain benchmarks we have to make. It's certain things that have to happen before they start reducing the amounts that you own the property. So year 1 to 5, they'll reduce it by 15%. Then you'll see more money coming in. It's a formula that goes through the Bond Commission and Louisiana Housing, LHC Corporation, and so on and so forth.
Okay.
But at the end of the year, we're not going to own it until year 25. And after year 25, then all the revenue will come into the owner, which will be us. The developer falls off at year 5, our co-developer, and then eventually we'll own it all at year 25.
So then, in the year 25,
That'll
there
be
are other
somebody's
things
problem.
that you can do on behalf of your staff and the workers. Here's what I'm really looking at.
Okay.
I'm working with the Capital Area United Way and the Wilson Foundation and some others, and there's this population that we have called ALICE, Asset Limited Income Constrained. They are the working poor.
Sure.
And what I'm concerned about is that do we have any staff in this council, the entire staff that you have, that will constitute that? They're saying they're working every day, and yet they don't have enough money to pay their bills. Basic living. They've done all this research and they've looked at it in this state and in this city. And we have a lot of people who fall in that category. They're working every day, sometimes even on the weekend. So having that knowledge, I'm simply setting forth when there is a chance to compare what Alice is and what you're paying your staff. I'd like for the board to take a look at that.
By all means.
Madam Chair.
I just want to add, because as we talk about these properties, we also have to be conscious and aware of the type of funding and the regulations that go with the funding. Most of the people that we work with, and particularly the persons that you are making reference to, they would qualify for Section 8 funding, and if they're elderly, most likely reside in a HUD 202 property, and if they're with a disability, it would be HUD 811 property. With those types of properties actually comes a subsidy. And that subsidy allows them to have affordable rents because they will then pay 1/3 of their total income. And so when those persons come around, we're always trying to encourage them to seek out, and we help them to go to those properties that are subsidized. Now, switching over to a low-income housing tax credit property, it is no subsidy for the property. Low-income housing properties, the low-income housing tax credits were designed as to incentivize developers and investors to create additional housing units for low-income people. But that was an incentive for developers. That's not the incentives for those persons living there. So the way it's structured, and it's based on tax codes of 1986, if you want to look that up. The way it's structured, that we look at area median income, and we have 20%, 30%, 50%, 60%, on to 80%.
Right.
You cannot allow anyone, because the way our property has been structured, that's beyond 80% to reside in those properties. So each of those units, because again, it's for those persons who are low income. And so each of those units are designated. So we have units designated for 20%, 30%, 50%, and 60%. So when we talk about 50%, what does that mean? 50% area median income, if you're paying $700, you're paying 50% probably of your income. And so we advise people, because a lot of the people we deal with may have incomes of only $700, $800, $900. So, your idea in terms of making it diverse, of course, that's what we want to do. We want to make it diverse by having people with higher incomes, and even though those persons with Section 8 vouchers, tenant vouchers, can come in and they could pay the highest rent, because HUD would actually allow us to pay to charge them the highest rent, the full rent, and they could do that. And so between Lotus Village and all of the other new units around here, what we're finding is the challenge of people having to pay rents. So they're attracting more people with Section 8. And so one of the concerns, because people who have lived in a Dumas house, which is a project-based Section 8, the Section 8 stays with the project, they didn't have their own tenant base, so it puts them out because they can't leave a Dumas house and take a Section 8 with them. So, we're working with people, and so it's not just working with Lotus, it's working with every entity in the city to make sure that that person can find an appropriate housing that would be good for them, that's safe, decent, and affordable. So housing is still a tough cookie, folks. And so we're doing everything we can, but the best thing we could have done was to create a Lotus Village with diverse incomes. And people are very proud of where they live. And it's about, I don't want to say it's about time, but now we can sit down and talk to those persons who are retired postal workers and retired school teachers, as well as those persons who may have lower incomes, because there are 20% units that were allocated for those persons who receive permanent supportive housing vouchers. And so there's a variety, and that's what we're seeing. So it's a juggle, and it is a complicated process, but we're working it.
She love housing.
But honestly, I was really speaking about your
My staff.
Okay? And where are they as it relates to being Alice population? Where are they as it relates to being in this category called a working poor? I heard you mention $15 an hour earlier. I'd like to see what that means when it comes down to their income and where that compares to this Alice population, where they are the working poor. That is a very significant area that brings about an enormous amount of stress on homes. And as a result of that, the data is showing where those families' children are coming to school with a higher level of stress, and therefore they're being identified as attention deficit disorders. And so the issue would be with me is that if there are staff members that are in that working poor category, that should be a priority, like the buildings that we're building, right?
Sure.
And so that's what I'm reaching at.
And so I don't have the background on what they determine as working poor, but I can say I have one of the happiest staff around here because everybody seems to be happy.
Okay.
But let me see what the threshold is, and we can go from there. I don't mind having a subsequent conversation with you about that.
Appreciate it.
Sure. Okay, and then the only other thing I have is in your folders, Trudy has put in the board meetings for the year, so you can put those on your calendar. We also have a copy of the annual report. We also have in there for you the committees, a phone list for everybody, so you can have everybody's number. And if you don't just leave, my staff is going to set you up. Everybody now has their own East Baton Rouge Council on Aging email that you can receive our communications in. So you don't have to jump from the telephone to an email from this one and that one. So there's a group for you that the marketing department has set up, and they're gonna put it on your phone, and they have instructions on here, then you could take it and put it on your computer, Ms. Booker, if you like, and you can get your emails directly from us.
I'll still send text messages though.
That's right. And then the last thing is, of course, we're gonna do Thanksgiving dinner and dance, senior skip day, and to your point about I think that was Dr. Cole mentioned philanthropic giving. We just were asked actually last week from the United States the Department of Aging to complete a grant to help seniors get the rest of their boosters and their flu shots. And so we are expecting another $500,000 from them to get started on that program between now and April 2024. Then yesterday I received a request from AARP to complete a grant for us to do a project with them as well. So here lately we've been getting a lot of grant money, but the only thing, grant money is good, we like it, but it all starts off spending your own money. You know, you got to spend your money to get the money, so to be reimbursed. And that's it, Madam Chair. I don't have anything else.
Okay, any unfinished?
Chair, may I have, before you get to adjourning us, a point of personal privilege? I'm asking each of you, board members and your families and so on, that on July the 11th, there will be a gubernatorial forum at Southern University. And that forum is being sponsored by the Black Church. So when I say the Black Church, I'm saying President S.C. Dixon of the Louisiana Home Farm Mission. I'm saying President Alexander of the Louisiana State Baptist Convention, Bishop Proctor of the Church of God in Christ, Bishop Cooper and Grant of the Full Gospel, and Stafford Wicker, Bishop Stafford Wicker of the AME Church. For the first time in the history of this state, those bodies have united and are now in complete agreement over 7 different areas. One of them has to do with health literacy and health inadequacies. I'm asking and I'm inviting all of you, your families, to come and be with us on that day. It really is speaking to each one of the candidates about these issues that affect our community, whether it's homicide, whether it's fentanyl overdose, whether it's K through 12, large gaps academically between our children and their white counterparts. And yes, questions like, if you're elected governor, are you willing to commit to us this day that your administration would reflect the demographics of this state? That's not quotas, that's what is. We represent 1/3 of the voting populace of the state of Louisiana. We need numbers there that day, and I'm asking for your presence, your family, and I think that it really would be educational to a lot of our young people. And thank you, Madam Chair, for that point of privilege.
Are you all on announcements yet?
I think so.
I just wanted to make sure that you all knew and make sure that the seniors know, I'll have my annual back to school giveaway on July 29th at the Vashon Rec facility. It will be sponsored by myself, the YWCA, Senator Cleo Fields, and leadership and the 100 Black Men will be a back to school health fair. So a lot of the healthcare and our council on aging to participate as well, so that we can make sure that the seniors get what they need for the ones that are raising their grandchildren. I think I have over 300 backpacks, and there are others who are going to be bringing backpacks. So it'll be a huge event that day, and it's from 12 to 2:30. That's July 29th. 29th. It's on a Saturday. It's on inside the building. So if somebody want to be outside, sit up outside, you're welcome, but I'm going to be in the air. And thank y'all for participating in the Juneteenth celebration. It was a huge success, and thank you so much.
Any more announcements?
I have one, the Midwest Butler Center. One of our senior citizens passed, Mr. Feltus, so just going to ask that you all keep the families in prayer. And so the services will be down the line.
July
Mr.
10th.
Feltus.
In New St. John, that's my
Okay,
church.
so July 10th, yes, I did not want to say July 10th, I just wanted to say
I
down the
thought you were
line.
reaching for a date. I
No,
didn't get that.
ma'am, wasn't reaching for a date, but I want to ask why so long, and didn't want to get into folk business. So that's why I left it at that. Yes, yes. Yeah.
Gotta get everybody home. Everybody gotta get home.
Yes, indeed. Get your money together, yeah.
Okay, any unfinished business? New business? Under new business, in accordance with Governor Edwards' proclamation declaring Monday, July 3rd, 2023, a legal holiday in the state of Louisiana, EBRCOA offices and senior centers will be closed both Monday, July 3rd, and Tuesday, July 4th, in observance of the 4th of July holiday.
And it's the 50th year of hip hop. It is. I got to go. It's the 50th year of hip hop. I got to go.
Okay, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn. Okay, it's been moved by Councilwoman. You said motion, second by Reverend Moss. Any objections?
Okay, so if you, we adjourned. If you want.